Well, hello, my fellow beautiful, gorgeous, sensitive people. It is me, your favorite oracle named Whimsy, your favorite naturopathic doctor named Whimsy. Of all the naturopathic doctors you know named Whimsy, who happen to have lived in this apartment, I'm your favorite. I'm pretty sure. Okay, let's talk. Now, you have many questions, and to the best of my ability, in the most entertaining way possible, I will attempt to answer those questions. But before that happens, it would be great if you could like and subscribe and maybe share with your friends this video, because it would be really great if the channel grew. So a lot is happening, and a lot of people are having questions. First off, it looks like there was another attempt on Donald Trump's life. A lot of people would like to know if that was planned, if there was some conspiracy. We can go ahead and take a look at that. Love affairs with Laura Loomer. There's a lot going on. Fear about whether or not we can hold on to the Senate. It's all good, right? These are all good questions. So let's go ahead. We will quickly do the empath's prayer. Certainly you can join me in the prayer if you know it. Let's go in and let's take a look. Okay. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys, to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together collectively as a community, we say, Amen. All right, so the first thing I thought I would look at is the main question people wanted to know is about the shooter, the attempted shooter, whether or not if he was a plant, if this whole entire thing was arranged. I actually have the CNN article open. I guess law enforcement reveals more details on the apparent Trump assassination attempt. The suspect faces charges. Ryan Wesley Routh in Sunday's apparent assassination attempt. I guess he was strongly in support of Ukraine during the war. He also appears to have been a registered Republican who had voted for Donald Trump in 2016. And maybe he had changed his tune because of the war in Ukraine. Very interesting. Let's go ahead and let's see if we can find out some information from the cards about Ryan Wesley Routh. We're just going to throw his cards and try and get into his head and see what motivated him. Ryan Wesley Routh. Possessing a firearm and as a convicted felon, and possessing a firearm with an obliterated serial number. Interesting. The wrong people are getting access to dangerous weapons. I think that's the takeaway, is that if it's this easy to get access to a gun, maybe that should be the conversation. The elephant in the room. That Republicans should be having a conversation about. Should people like this get access to these types of weapons? And the other conversation goes back to this idea that the reason that Trump was shot and the reason that this keeps happening is because the GOP is in civil war. Maybe that is the real conversation. So his life is about to change. His life is about to change dramatically. In a way, it was the best possible outcome because nobody got killed. He didn't get killed, and number 45 didn't get killed. major transformation over his life. His karma card is Six of Wands. So he wanted to be victorious, or he sees himself as having been victorious, even though Trump was not killed. I don't know if he even fired the weapon. He sees the situation is changing, and he sees himself as victorious at this time. You also have this rapid change happening over him, and it's finished, or he was stopped. The Knight of Pentacles is a stopgap, so things happened very quickly and he was stopped. Ace of Cups stands in his 4th house, which indicates that he could be given some kind of he could be given some grace here, maybe because he didn't actually fire the gun, or he might not spend as much time in prison as, say, somebody who Hinckley, or somebody that actually shot the gun. I'm seeing a lot of movement here. This person probably was traveling quite a bit. You can see Chariot here, the Knight of Wands, which is very active. So this was somebody who, you get the impression that he was almost nomadic. He was all over the place. Here it is again, 2 of Cups with an Ace of Cups. So this is a guy who's going to be helped or assisted. He might wind up in a psych hospital or something like that. I think he had a drug or an alcohol problem. 7 of Cups, he was in his cups. He was not in his right mind. I'm going to go ahead and predict that this individual may have had a pharmaceutical drug problem. This is something that I'm seeing a lot, unfortunately, with Trump supporters, whether they're rich or poor, is we're seeing that a lot of people are on prescription drugs, pharmaceuticals, amphetamines, oxycodone, methamphetamines, etc. And it creates paranoia, delusions, and it may even be impacting the way people vote. But this is somebody who was in his cups. This is his 7th house. And so his immediate environment is that he is in his cups. His opposition walked away from what he was building. So Donald Trump walks away from what he was building, his opposition being Donald Trump. No, there wasn't a conspiracy. This was a case of another mentally ill man. You know, the shooters, whether it's the Bernie Sanders person that attempted to, who shot Republicans at a baseball game a couple of years ago, or the guy that opened fire on hundreds of people in Nevada, all of them seem to be the same age, 50s to 60s. And they all seem to be having some type of drug problem, often prescription drug problems, that seems to be affecting their mental health. 7 of Cups is to be delusional. It's somebody who is not in their right mind. It can also be a drug or alcohol problem because the person has the cups, the many cups, and they also have the delusions or ghost. If you're on multiple drugs, if you had mental health problems beforehand, and then you add to that drugs, you're not thinking properly. It's interesting that his opponent was Trump, and Trump is walking away from what he built. It goes back to what I had said before about Donald Trump, that he kind of quiet quits. I see him walking off the job, abandoning everything. He can't totally quit because they're paying him, and he has basically bankrupted the Republican Party, so that now down ballot races, the Senate and Congress are at risk because they can't afford to even protect those seats because they don't have enough money. This is also one of the reasons why Trump is not able to do rallies in certain areas, because they simply don't have enough money to pay for him, pay for his plane, etc. They're running out of money. Hopes and fears, his power. So the shooter saw himself as having power, the magician who was going to manifest things. Again, this would maybe indicate a power trip, or that he was on some kind of drugs. The Truth, Archangel Michael is there. The clarification for him, he rages, he rages. He's not mentally well. He's somebody who's raging. But I keep seeing this kind of mercy being shown him. Maybe they diagnose him as mentally ill or something and he gets off. Hopes and fears that they'll throw the book at him. The final outcome for him, 4 of Cups. He doesn't want to be helped. I don't see a conspiracy or something like that. Instead, the explanation is all too common. A man in his 50s, 60s, sometimes they're older, but it's usually a man over the age of 50 with a past history of prescription drug use, pharmaceuticals, addiction, alcohol, and mental illness. And these are the people that we see over and over again are in these situations, whether it's attacking the Republican Congress people during the baseball game, or the times that they've attempted to hurt Trump, the 2 assassination attempts. Over and over again, it seems to be men with drug problems. In the case of the last person, the person that attempted to kill Trump, I think he was younger, if I'm not mistaken. But again, for the most part, it's usually older men with a drug problem. For example, in the case of Nancy Pelosi's husband being seriously injured, again, looked like somebody with mental illness, came originally from Canada, and may have had a drug problem. Okay, so the next question people wanted to know is if I could take a quick look at the Senate, because even if Harris wins in a landslide, that's not going to help us secure the courts. It's all about the courts, right? So we can't protect the Constitution if we don't have control of the courts. And the Constitution is at risk because of greed, right? Money. People who want money, they want to hide money outside. How to legally get away with not paying taxes so America goes bankrupted, because what they love is money. They don't love the Constitution, and they'll do anything to hold on to the power and the money. It's really that simple, isn't it? So we see the death of the Constitution and the rise of unfettered greed and power. And the only hope that the American people have is that we can secure the Senate. If we hope to change the Supreme Court or have some control over the courts, we have to be able to have ethical people in the Senate. All right, let's take a look at just a generic look at the Senate for November. We know that Manchin is quitting, and so again, that could be an indication that we lose the Senate. Will the Democrats be able to hold on to the Senate? Let's take a look. Our position is strong and the legacy is strong. Where we are at right now in a position of power, the Democrats, magicians, so we have to really focus on the Senate and Congress. It's looking very good for Harris. I think she's about 6 points now ahead in the national. She's starting to look good in the swing states. And again, because the Republicans are running out of money, it's beginning to have an impact not only on whether or not Trump can go to the swing states, but whether or not they can afford to pay for those down ballot races. The crossing card, stress. The pressure is on the Democratic Party to basically save the United States. You can see an Ace of Wands coming in. That's a very good omen. And Archangel Michael. So truth to power. We have to just be very clear, be with our facts, talk about the issues. The number one concern for Americans right now, they say, is crime, believe it or not. And then after crime comes the economy. And health care and a woman's right to choose. So keeping the conversation, being active about the conversation in terms of what is important to the American people. This could also be one of the reasons why Harris is attractive, because she is a former AG, and she is someone that can present herself as a law and order candidate. It's very likely that we could continue to hold on to the Senate. The Senate is actually looking really pretty good at this time. The Ace of Wands is coming into fourth position, so it's this new motivation. Democrats are definitely getting out on a grassroots level in all 50 states, trying to make sure people are voting. And those places where there are Senate races, working really, really hard to make sure that we are able to influence people. You can see the wish has been granted coming into the 6th house. So we've got this new push over the next 30 days. Remember, people are going to be starting to vote in the next 30 days, late October, mid-October, late October. So we've got this really positive push coming in. And then a Knight of Wands is kind of the entrepreneur. It's a territorial card. It has to do with my way or the highway. The opposition being the Emperor. It can be the old guard. Emperor, it can also be rigid in their thinking. It is, I think of it also as the Supreme Court, that we really are trying to save the corruption of the Supreme Court. It would be interesting also to see whether or not we are able to make it easier to eject people from the Supreme Court who've been found to be corrupted or compromised. Hopes and fears that we continue to have the financial wherewithal to focus on the down ballot races, put money towards those races. And we can see Ace of Cups is a very good omen. It would indicate good times coming. Ace of Cups is about blessings from the universe. There is some kind of disruption happening that we need to be very careful about. There's a tower coming in the next couple of weeks, so we have to be careful about disruptions, protest. This is something that I've seen and I've talked about, this idea that there could be rioting or protest, paid protest, civil war, attempts to get a civil war happening. And for that reason, we have to be very careful. It's where the wealthy foreign governments, Iran, Russia, the millionaires and billionaires, they try to engage in race baiting. And ironically, they pay the anarchists and the progressives to go out and basically push for policies that ultimately harm liberals and progressives. So that's the great irony. That's kind of what happened, is that the Jill Stein supporters and the people, much of the money being traced back to Russia, ultimately led to 3 conservatives sitting in the Supreme Court. So hopes and fears that we will not be able to, that we will be heavily influenced by these riots that are happening. And then the opposition celebrates. And then there's confusion here with the Moon card. So my warning to Democrats, as I've said in the past, is be careful about race baiting, riots, the rise in anti-Semitism, rise in hostilities against migrants, and the fact that crime is the number one concern for many Americans. It could be the thing that cost us some of those down ballot races. So expect to see in the next 3 weeks an increase in civil unrest. If the opposition feels that they cannot win the House, the presidency, then they will do everything in their power to cause violence and disruption and chaos in the streets to create enough fear in Americans that they tend to vote for the more conservative Republicans in the Senate and in the House. And if nothing else, they're just creating violence and chaos, which disrupts the stability of the country. And so I think that we will be seeing that in the next couple of weeks, unfortunately. So we have to be strong, and we have to be on focus. We have to be on message in the coming weeks. It looks good for Democrats, but again, because of this civil unrest I see happening in the next couple of weeks, it will be a challenge for us to continue to try and remain calm in the chaos. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you're trying to get in for a reading with me, you can book me through Booksy, and that information is below. Be kind to all so that all will be kind to you too. We'll see you next time. Peace out and God bless. Bye, everyone.